This week we begin a special series that will run till the end of the month. It was 10 years ago this August that Princess Diana was killed in a Paris car accident. Yet some still believe there are unanswered questions about the crash. And now a witness has come forward with new information that could suggest it was not an accident. Nicholas Wapshott is the national and foreign editor of the New York Sun and is with us this afternoon. Let's begin with the white Fiat Uno. This is one of the big mysteries of the investigation. What role did that car play in the accident?
Well, it was always said that there was a white Fiat Uno which tipped into the car in which Diana was being driven at the key moment as it went into the tunnel in which she died. That Fiat Uno left paint on Diana's car, and the French police scoured the whole of France and have never yet been able to find out exactly what car that was. It's very distinct. You can trace a car from its paint.
They never found the car, and they never found the driver. But now a new witness has come forward, a French fireman called Christophe Palat. And what claims is he making specifically?
This is really fascinating. 3 years after Diana's death, paparazzo photographer, a long-lens photographer, who had always denied that he was in Paris at that time, was found dead in a burning Fiat Uno on a military territory in France. This Fiat Uno had been repainted. It was originally white and had been repainted 3 years before, so shortly after the accident. What the firefighter is now saying is that he was the first on the scene. It had been said that the paparazzo had committed suicide and set fire to the car himself. What the firefighter said was that he was first on the scene and that the paparazzo, called James Adamson, had 2 bullet holes to his head, and that had been covered up. And this was revealed this week. This is 10 years after Diana's death. It's obviously a sensational revelation.
10 years after her death, James Anderson may ultimately become a very important person in the British inquest that is going on right now into Diana's death. Explain to us what they're trying to determine.
Well, like any suspicious death, you have to prove exactly how the circumstances of the death came about and whether anyone was responsible and whether any charges should be brought against anybody. The French did a very quick inquest, which was riddled with errors, and the British have not been satisfied, but they've taken a very long time getting round to the inquest, and of course all the hours and weeks and months that pass make it much more difficult to find out exactly how Diana met her death. But they've got a very senior judge in charge of the inquest, and the policeman, Lord Stevens, who looked into it, instead of dismissing all of the many rumours and ideas about exactly how Diana died, instead of being a simple accident, he said that there were interesting things that should be explored. So people in London, anyway, imagine that we have not heard the full story, and when we do hear the full story, there will be many surprises in it.
There has been some reporting about James Anderson, the photographer, some reports suggesting that he was on the payroll of the intelligence service, suggesting that as he followed Diana around Europe, specifically that summer in Saint-Tropez on her trip with Dodi Fayed, that he was passing this information back to the British, not for nefarious reasons, but just so that they could keep track on her whereabouts because she was the mother of a future king.
Yes, I mean, that sort of thing, of course, is usually kept secret. But by definition, it's kept secret. But the inquest should be able to find that out. They also said that Henri Paul, who was the drunk driver who was in charge of the car which crashed, that he too was on the French Secret Service list. And it's not surprising in a way that Secret Service, if they want to keep tabs on someone, should use someone like a paparazzo who spends his whole time following such people and taking photographs with a long lens. And so he would probably know more about what was going on the Diana's final boat ride with Dodi and in her final car ride.
For many people here in this country, they think, another investigation, hasn't this sort of been done, finished? It was an accident, very mundane, just involving extraordinary people. Is there that sense in Europe as well?
Well, it depends on your view of Diana. If your view of Diana was that she was a troublesome woman who caused all sorts of unnecessary anguish to the royal family, and that's quite widespread in Britain, then on the whole you think that the crash was no more than an accident. However, in Britain too, there are a great number of people who believe that it was not in the interest of the royal family or the British establishment for Diana to carry on behaving in the way that she was behaving. And also, of course, there's Dodi's father, who was the owner of Harrods department store, believes that Dodi and Diana were in love, that they became engaged, and that what the royal family didn't want was the thought of having a grandchild, or the Queen having a grandchild who was a Muslim.
That's correct. We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid, Nicholas, but thank you very much for being our guest.
Pleasure.